Hello, welcome to today's episode of Juicing the Numbers, your statistics and sports podcast. I am one of your hosts, Joshua Tracy.
I'm the other guy, Corwin and
And man, oh man, what a week it's been. If you're listening to this, you're listening to it a little bit later than we typically release. That is because we were busy this weekend, but there was so much to talk about. We definitely want to make a point of getting something out. So because there was no way in hell we were going to be like Wednesday's podcast, even though it'll be a short time between the two shows, is still going to have plenty enough to talk about already.
And I mean, after over a month of just sitting on our hands, having nothing to talk about, it's just like the floodgates have opened and there's no holding back.
Yeah, there's a lot here to get into. So I guess first and foremost, the day after we recorded, MLB and the MLB PA came to an agreement on a new CBA, and baseball is back. Woo!
April 7th, opening day?
I believe so. Or it's the 14th. It's something in April. Who really cares? It doesn't matter. But regardless, it is a happy occasion, and I don't know. I feel a little bit at the same time. I guess I had, and if you've listened to the show, you know this is a very me problem. I had much higher expectations for what could be done, much higher hopes for what could be done. I got my hopes up very frequently on the show, and I got my hopes up here that there would be more, a little bit more, but they still got some things which we will get into as we talk about the contract a little bit. But before we start talking details per se, Corwin, what was your impression when you heard the deal was signed?
My initial gut reaction was like, oh, they definitely settled on something then. Oh, that sucks. But baseball's back. If they're happy with the deal, they're happy with the deal. I kind of miss the whole drama with the players voting no, or the player committee voting no, but the player as an organized. I don't really remember or recall what happened there. So I don't know if you know that off the top of your head.
Yeah, the executive players committee, which is 8 players, all voted no, but the wider group that consists of the, I guess, elected players union representatives voted yes by enough of a margin that it outweighed the no's. I think the total was like 24-12 or something like that, where all the executive committee guys voted no, and then 4 regular guys, but then everybody else voted yes.
Right. I saw that. And then it was the Yankees, the Mets, Nationals, and Cardinals, and the Astros that were all just like, fuck off, no?
I think I think there was something like that. I definitely remember the Yankees being there, but I don't really recall.
Not certain on the Mets, but the rest I am positive on. And I
am sad that we're not going to get more negotiation points. As a guy that took some labor economics courses in college, I was kind of enjoying it from an academic standpoint. Plus, I love arguing about labor shit, but alas, it has come to its conclusion. So I guess let's get into some of the details. I have a very nifty thing up that will help us kind of navigate it a little bit. So the first thing is the term. This will be a 5-year CBA that will expire on December 1st of 2026. So get your engines roaring, because come episode 700, we're going to do it all over again, baby. They also ratify with this an expanded playoffs. There will now be 12 teams will make the playoffs in 2022. The 2 division winners with the best record in each league will receive a bye. The 3rd division winner will be the highest seed in the first round, and the wild card team with the best record will be the next. These 2 teams will host a 3-game first round series, and starting in 2023, all teams will play each other in both leagues in a more balanced schedule. So a little bit more like what hockey does, which is every team plays every team. Right now, MLB operates a little bit more like the NFL, where every team plays every team in their conference, and then one team from the other conference. So I guess let's tackle the first half of this, which will be the 12-team expanded playoffs. I don't like it because it devalues to a certain extent a very long regular season. But it doesn't bother me enough to where I'm going to be like, I hate this forever.
Right.
We're
I mean,
expanding
it's
playoffs
what,
everywhere.
is it a two
extra
team
teams.
edition?
Yeah.
You know,
one extra wildcard team per league.
Right. Which at the end of the day, it's not something that's really gonna make me care too much. I really don't think it's gonna change baseball at its foundation. And I'm sure it's something that, I mean, look, we've seen every sports league expand to some extent. If that's a concession they had to reach to get this done, I'm fine with that being one of the concessions. I feel like that's from a player's perspective and from a overall health of the sport perspective, I think that's kind of easy keeled.
Yeah, I've also seen it, batted around that it might be a proactive expansion under the guise of they might end up expanding the leagues a little bit, which it's been talked about forever, expanding the number of teams. As of right now, I mean, of the major sports, baseball and basketball, I think, have the two fewest, with the NFL and the NHL both now having 32 teams and NBA and MLB only having 30. So the idea that it would be expanding is not radical. And if they were expanding the playoffs by two teams to be a little bit proactive about the number of teams going for an eventual like division realignment or whatever, all right, sure, whatever. Again, it's not something that's going to bother me enough that we need to keep talking about it more. The next thing, though, does actually bother me. I really don't like it. The idea of playing every team in baseball every season. Because we've talked about on the show, like one of the things I love about baseball versus the scheduling of the NHL is that because the NHL shoehorns you playing every team into its schedule, you only end up playing 3 games against each divisional rival. And I'm sorry, but when you only play 3 games out of an 82 game schedule against a rival, are they that much of a rival? Like, yeah, the games will be hot, but it's like part of the fun of baseball is like, we are going to play the Red Sox 19 times a year. And it will now be less than that. It'll still be double digits if I had to guess, but it's not something I'm exactly excited about from that perspective.
I think, and I don't remember exactly what I said the last time we discussed this. I am perfectly fine with this. I remember absolutely supporting the idea of playing your interdivision rivals a significant amount more. But if it comes down to, okay, we play a bunch of 2-game series against teams from the other conference, the other division, the other league, I should say, and you're still getting a dozen games against, for the Padres, if you still get a dozen games against the Dodgers, a dozen games against the Giants, the Yankees, Red Sox are still going to have a dozen games. I get it not being 19 games. I get that it's not going to be 6 series. But I think the idea of growing the sport means, hey, if you're a kid growing up in San Diego, no matter how much you don't really give a shit what the Yankees do during the regular season, being able to say, hey, we can go see the Yankees this year, or damn, I haven't watched a Phillies game in 5 years. Get to go see them play at our home, field this year. That'll be fun and exciting. I'm about it. As long as it's not like, all right, every team gets a 4-game series. Every team gets at least 1 3-game series. We'll throw a couple other series in there. And all right, you'll play the Dodgers 9 times. It's like, all right, I can live with this too. I think it will be fine.
Yeah, I think
it will be fine as I cross my fingers and just hope they don't fuck this up like everything else.
If I can stomach it if it is a bunch of 2-game series and they don't try to do the thing the NHL does, which is, Rangers, you are playing the Oilers in Edmonton and in New York.
Right.
Like if it's every
Or just not a
team
home and away.
right, if it's on a home, because then we're talking a minimum of 4 games per additional team that you play. And that would be very annoying because now we're talking 40 games a year that aren't against your own league or your own division. And
And I
that'd be
mean,
a lot.
what is it now? Like 12, maybe?
Well, if we
It's
call it,
like,
because right now you play, like if the AL East is playing the NL East, you would play a home and an away series. So right now it's, again, if we say it's a minimum of 2 games in a series, which is it not? Who knows? What it averages out to, I mean.
mhm.
No, that would be, there's 5 teams in the division, so there and away, that's 40 games. So if they try doing that with each division, we're talking a lot of games. We're talking, or so I'm sorry, not 40 games. It's half of that's 20 games. So we're talking an additional 40 games. 20 games per extra division. And those 40 games have to come from somewhere. And I'd rather, if the Yankees are in the AL East, rather than be playing the AL East or at least playing other AL opponents. But it would make the most sense for these games to come because as of right now, the AL East already plays 1 series in Houston and 1 series against Houston in the Bronx. So really, I don't know where they take these games from, aside from your division. Really, the only place it makes sense for these games to come from, which means if you're playing, we'll round it up, 20 games, 80 games against your division, 20 times 4. Well, now you're only going to be playing 40 games against your division. If again they do the home and away for both division thing, and that's 10 games per team in the season, which is a huge reduction from the number of games it currently is. Literally cutting it in half. Right. Which that would suck a lot of dick.
I agree.
But or it ends up being just a home series or away series, in which case it's not that many more games because they'd probably also cut out one of the home or aways from the opposite league division you were already playing. So instead it'll be, again, if the 5 teams per league, 2 game series, that's 10 games per division. That's 30 games as opposed to the 20 games you were playing already. So now the math is 70 games against your own division, which would be what, fucking 14 games per team, some shit like that. Like, all right, that's fine. 12. No, it's more.
And I mean, 14. Every way I've seen it described from quote unquote insiders has been, to some extent using the word balanced, which, look, if it's balanced and that's how they want to word it, that's kind of what you would expect from that. I will absolutely take it.
What is balance? That word bothers me in this context because it means not balance as compared to what? Like I understand
compared
there's a general vibe,
10 games against, the opposing league versus 20 for individual opponents in your division. I could see why that would be unbalanced. I would agree. That's a little unbalanced. Look, I don't have any insider information whatsoever. I follow the same people on Twitter you do. I'm just saying, hey, if we're, bringing it in 3 inches on each side, that's a little more balanced. I'll take it.
All right. The next rule change they discussed was there will be no game 163 anymore. In the event of ties, a formula will be used to break ties. There will no longer be a game 163 should records be matched up. Which honestly feels like a weird concession given the expanding role of playoffs, because that game 163, for all intents and purposes, is an extra wild card game. So it's a little weird.
But at the same time, like, as much as my initial gut reaction, that was actually the first time I heard that
same. I'm reading some of these right off the jump.
My first thought is, oh, that sucks. Like, it's just going to be some arbitrary formula. But at the end of the day, it's baseball. We played, 5 and 7 game series. We play 162 games. It coming down to one start from one starter, where one bad pitch can be the difference in your entire season. Okay, I kind of get going with, a larger sample size on that than rather than let's hope our number 1 starter's rested for this game.
I don't know. I don't really care about it.
Again, unless it's something outrageous, I think I'm okay with it.
All right, more rule changes. The universal designated hitter will be used in both leagues in 2022. We knew this one was coming. We talked about it plenty. I don't think there's really any point in dwelling on it. It's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
All right.
Great thing for Nelson Cruz.
7-inning doubleheaders and ghost runners in extra innings are gone for now.
I would have traded all of the other concessions just for this.
Yeah, this also was a good fucking who wants to watch 7-inning doubleheaders were genuinely frustrating to watch because I never remembered the game was ending.
It feels like politics again, the past couple elections where it's like, I can't believe we're applauding fucking getting the basic rules of baseball back. Wow. I didn't think this had to be a negotiating topic.
Yeah. This one really, I'm just going to read it and we can move right on past it because I don't really give a shit. A competition committee comprised of 6 members appointed by the commissioner, 4 players, including at least 1 pitcher and 1 umpire, will review proposed changes beginning after the 2022 season, and changes may take place within 45 days after approval. So who cares? It's nothing that affects anything immediately. It's fine. All right. Coming in 2023, rule changes. Larger bases. First, second, and third base will go from 15 inches square to 18 inches square. This is a rule that was tried out in, I think, the Atlantic League or some minor independent league, and then was tried out in the minor leagues. So we've talked about this before too. It wasn't a guarantee that this one was coming, but we've talked about it under the guise of it coming for a while because it's been tried out in other leagues already under MLB guidance. Do you have anything creative to say about it?
I don't think this changes anything. I really, if we see a 1% increase in stolen bases and 1% decrease in pickoff attempts, I would consider that a significant difference. I don't think we'll even see that.
I have a hard time picturing it as well, because you got to, and this is a little bit rehashing conversations we've already had about the topic, but at the same time, that's kind of why you talk about things again when they actually happen, which is the rate of stolen bases per player, I think, is going to be the most affected metric, because if you think about it, any guy who tried to steal a base and was off by 4 inches, 2 inches, maybe now they get that stolen base. But now anybody who would have been off by 4 inches and not even been close will now be barely off. So you're still going to have all the bang bang plays that you had previously. They're just going to be adjusted to the ones that weren't bang bang plays are now bang bang plays. So the rates might end up actually lining up. Like a player might still be able to steal. If he was able to steal 77% of his bases last year, he might still be stealing 77% this year. It's going to be, did the number of attempts increase, and how are we judging that success? Because there's also the idea, and we've talked about this in all types of contexts in sports. If you're doing something with 100% efficiency, chances are you're not doing it enough. If you are able to complete 100% of your passes, then chances are you're not throwing enough, or you're not throwing deep enough. And if you're able to steal 100% of your bases, chances are you're not stealing enough, and they're going to keep pushing you to do
Ricky
more.
Henderson. He attempted enough stolen bases.
He broke the stolen base record and then played for 20 more years. So so chances are, if players all of a sudden their rate of successful stolen bases climbs from 70% to 82%, then their managers are going to say, well, we're stealing so many more bases successfully as a percentage, then we're going to increase the number of attempts you're going to have, which will ultimately, theoretically, drive down your success rate to be at a low point that we're comfortable with, but an increase in raw data that we think is worth it. This is math.
Correct. We're not great at it, but we can do the basics. Yeah.
I don't know what 70 divided by 4 is. I do not know, but I do know this.
17 and a half.
It is 17 and a half. I did it on the calculator after. I couldn't figure it out.
Nice.
Mental math, folks. Who fucking needs it? Also coming in 2023. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm amazed I was able to do that quickly under pressure. I do not have a great track record with that.
Buddy, it was nobody's pressure but your own. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there too. I was not demanding this of you. Anyway. Also coming in 2023, a 14-second pitch clock maybe 19 seconds with a runner on base. So I guess there's still some wiggle room here. Another thing we knew was coming. This had been a thing in the minors. This has been a thing in college. This is not new at all. Moving on.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, when it was first implemented, what was it, like 40 seconds? Like, it was something stupid high where it didn't matter whatsoever.
I don't remember if it was something stupid high or it's like one of those. It's technically in the rules, but no one's enforced it, and we all forgot. I don't really know.
Right, and look, if they start enforcing it more and more and kind of ease their way into this, I think it won't be a problem in 5 years, even if it is a problem right now. You know, guys like you, Darvish, or whoever else is inherently slow on the mound. Look, if they start calling it here and there, you know, just enough to kind of drive the point home this season, I think it's going to be something people complain about a ton, and then everyone will get used to it for next year.
Again, not this season. This one starts next year.
Right, but
yeah,
whatever.
Just want to be clear. Yeah. One more coming in 23, which is a ban on defensive shifts. Team must have 2 infielders on each side of second base. This one's contentious. This one's really contentious. Yeah. We have, as with all of these rule changes that had, because they've all been hypothesized and leaked in discussion many times. We talked about this one too. I'm not a fan at this point. Now that it's in the CBA, I can do nothing but shrug my shoulders. Having players, seeing a weak ground ball slide through like up the middle is not the exciting offense people act like it's going to be. It's not. It's an accident almost every time it happens. And what's better is to train players, in my opinion, to hit balls in the air and over the fence for home runs, because those are way more fun.
As much as I have dove in, what is the past tense version of dived? Dove. It's just dove. As much as I've dove in, that just doesn't sound right, but I know it's correct. As much as I've dove into Major League Golf,
delve, I think, is a better word for what you're going here.
Yeah, delved into golf. As much as I've gotten into professional golf, the big consensus of is the tour protecting players too much is a very hot topic issue. I think that's just what we're seeing here of, all right, we know the excuse is just learn to fucking hit to the other side. Clearly, we've seen guys that just are truly incapable of doing so. And I think this is just one of those, all right, we tried, you know, this is getting out of hand. Clearly, these guys can't adapt quickly enough or well enough or enough to be a visual, you know, difference. Let's just fucking go back to normal baseball and, you know, see if we can get some, you know, these are major league players, you know, we protect our guys. Let's just do them a solid on this one.
Well, you got to ask yourself, who are we protecting? Because it's not, the league is not full of only hitters. It is full of pitchers, and the shift helps pitchers. So it's helping one hand to hurt the other. You know, it's not, it's a net neutral, because you're not helping as much as you're hurting, and you're not hurting as much as you're helping. You know what I mean?
I mean, that is very true, but we've very much seen that they give much less of a fuck about pitchers than they do hitters.
As well they should. You know, pitching, I was supposed to say it's easier than hitting. I'll put it the other way around. Hitting is much harder than pitching. No. Getting on base is much harder than making an out. I'll put it that way.
Hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in all of sports. They're trying to make it not quite as much of a
they're trying to make getting on base easier. My issue is it's not even the hitting the other way part. That part is what you can't just say to a guy, hit the other way. You see that spot over there? Yeah, hit it over there. Yeah. Hit it fucking over there, you dumb bitch.
Oh, you can only hit a cut. Go hit a draw on this hole. Guess what?
If players could pick where the ball was going off their bat, they'd never make an out in their entire fucking lives. If a player has that type of autonomy over where a ball will go, why would it ever go to a fielder? It never would. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying this is going to lead to hitters becoming more slap hitters, but I think that's part of the problem is that this is a rule that's not really addressing a root cause of anything. The reason there is a reduced amount of players reaching first base, maybe, in good part due to the shift. I think that it really does help a good defense. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not from weak ground balls that find, or not weak ground balls, but like relatively well hit ground balls that are going right to guys that are positioned well. It's because pitchers are fucking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And this is nothing to address the fact that hitting a slider that can move an almost physically impossible amount is too hard to hit for your average Major League Baseball player. This is really addressing the worst part of the fact that pitchers are so dominant, which is balls that didn't get hit well enough to really be exciting are now going to be able to get guys on base. And that's not what anyone cares about.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the issue.
Yeah.
So again, what are we going to say about it now? It's a rule now. We'll keep an eye on it and see if it becomes, hey, maybe I'm wrong. And weak ground balls up the middle are the most exciting part of the game. And I'm just an idiot. Like who knows, big buddy. But at the same time, it's like the real issue for why there's a reduced amount of non-home run offense, which I'm not even sure is really the case, but that feels like the perception behind this rule, is the fact that pitchers are stupid good. That's the problem.
Correct.
But,
look, if it means more guys get on base so that there's more grand slams and slam Diego, I'll take it. That's what we have to give up. Okay, I'll make it happen. How many points do you have left on your list? Was that the last one?
No, there are many.
Got it.
We'll start moving through these a little bit faster. We're going to have a lot less to say about some of the later points.
I just have a question I've just thought of for when we finish. You go until you think we've passed the point of us giving a shit.
Sure. You write it in the chat so you don't forget. I'm going to close the chat so it doesn't ruin it for me. All right. So that brings us to minimum salaries, which was a big discussion point in negotiations that had been brought up constantly. So what's happening with it is the league minimum salary will increase from $570,500 to $700,000 starting in 2022, starting this year. And then we'll increase $20,000 per season through the life of the CBA. So in 2026, the final year of the CBA, minimum salary will be $780,000.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can agree, while obviously the league association, the player association wanted more, this is still a pretty decent step forward.
It's a very good first step. Yeah. But I honestly, I don't remember what any of the comparisons were for the other leagues, but by all means, for what we have here, good first step. You're right.
Now, this still doesn't address one of the main issues behind, shall we say, poverty in the minor leagues, which is the fact that MLB organizations, minor league organizations, classify their players as seasonal employees, so they don't have to be paid year round. They get paid hourly. They get paid like shit. So this, again, really only applies to, players who are on the 40-man and who are actively called up to the majors. You're on the 26-man roster, and playing for the Mets, as we discussed when we talked about why this is such an issue, because your ability to make a normal human salary, it comes down to 10 days in the majors. That's it. 10 single games, 10 individual games with your major league team can be the difference between making $11,000 a year and $70,000 a year, which, depending on the area that you live in, might not even be that much. Looking at the Brooklyn Cyclones. But regardless, this is a good step forward. There's now a different issue to be addressed once we finally unionize the minors. All right, so then let's keep it going. Oh, actually, I have the minor league minimum pay scale here as well. You want to hear what it is?
Sure.
I didn't realize I had this. This is
$65 a day.
You're really not far off, dude. You're really not far off. Hold on, that's really sad. Hold on 1 second, because I just said I can't do the mental math right now. Oh, you're really close.
I picked a disgustingly low number, and I am gutted that you are saying those things.
So I'll start AAA. No, I'll start rookie and work my way up. Rookie, minor league salaries, minor league minimum pay for a rookie, which is below low A, is $400 a week. So actually, if a week is 7 days, because I used 5 days because it's business days, but baseball gets played every day. So I actually did it wrong. $65 a day would be a raise. At 7 days a week, that's $57 a day.
$400 a week.
$400 a week for a 23-week season, which puts them at $9,200 for the year.
Dude, you wait tables 3-day weekend, and that's easily $400. Holy shit, dude.
So then we have high A and low A, which apparently make the same minimum salary per week, which is $100 higher. It's $500 a week.
Oh shit, dude. Go buy a fucking house with that money.
Which comes out to $71 per day in a 7-day week and $11,500 in a 23-week season. It's really bad. Double A. So double A, we're talking about like a double A player will get called up to the majors. It just depends on how the positions shake out. Like if you got a killer third base prospect at triple A, you might still have a really solid third base prospect at double A. And depending on how you would like to manipulate their service times, you might end up bringing up the double A prospect over the third base prospect if someone gets hurt and you need a guy. This actually also happens with rehabbing guys a lot. Like Zach Britton, when he had to do a rehab stint for the Yankees, did it at double A Somerset Patriots instead of triple A Scranton Rail Riders because there was no good spot for him to take with the Rail Riders. So double A, we're talking real players at this point. I'm not trying to diminish the other guys, but these are players that, again, you will see on your team in the season on TV.
Yeah.
$600 a week.
Guys who will be playing next to $500 million men like Mike Trout and Juan Soto.
$600 a week. $85 a day in a 7-day week, $13,800 in a 23-week season. $600 a week. Your AAA guys, the guys that are, by all means, one single step down from the majors. Now, granted, it's a very big step. It's a very big step. One step, though. Minimum salary, $700 a week. $100 per day.
By all means, the basic genesis of how we compare players in Major League Baseball is WAR, correct? You would agree that that is the, top of the pyramid when it comes to comparison stats?
It is what WAR is good for, yes.
Did you know that War and Peace was originally called WAR? What is it good for? Oh boy. The R in WAR is making $700 a week for all intents and purposes. That's kind of fucked. So
at minimum, yes.
When Chris Davis is making, what was it, $10 million, $15 million, $20 million a year, whatever his fucking outrageous contract was. I gotta look that up so I can actually give him some shit. When he's making that much money and doing significantly worse than a guy making $700 a week, that's a problem. $10 million a year.
Yeah. And if $700 a week sounds like a lot of money to you, you're old. You're very old. You need to start researching retirement homes because you're fucking old and out of touch. So maybe find a retirement home that has like a TV in it that you could watch, so that you can keep up with the fucking times. Because gas is $5 a gallon. $
700 a week for whoever the AAA first baseman for the Orioles is, versus $176,000 per week for Chris Davis.
Yeah. And that's not to say, Chris Davis was overpaid because he didn't perform, but that's not to say that your average player who makes that amount of money is overpaid, because as a share of revenue that the league generates, correct, they are not. But, oh my God, is the player below them in the system colossally underpaid.
Yeah, you are 100% correct. That's not saying Chris Davis is exorbitantly overpaid just because he sucks at baseball now. It is just how dramatically and unfucking fathomably underpaid minor league baseball players are.
So we're going to keep pushing because this is, again, and it's been one of the biggest issues in labor baseball discussions for years. We're not solving it right now. We've talked about it a lot already. Corwin, what's up?
Do you want to take a guess at how much WAR Chris Davis has been worth since 2017?
It's got to be negative. I can't imagine it's positive. So I will say -1.
So 2015, he was 14th in MVP voting. 2016, still hit 38 home runs. And then from 2017 through 2020, he has been worth -5.8 WAR.
Oh my God, it's so much worse.
Yeah.
I thought -1 was mean, honestly. I was like, they got to have been a lot of like -0.5s and zeros. Wow.
Going back from his most recent season, -1, -1, -3.3 in 2018, and -0.6.
I lived through that season and must have talked about it a bunch, and I completely forgot that number. That's disgusting.
4.9 WAR in 2015.
Wow.
Even if you throw that in, that is still net negative.
All right, so this next one is an interesting one that is also genuinely a positive development. The money is not huge necessarily, but still a good step, which is pre-arbitration bonuses. So as we discussed on the podcast, arbitration only happens after like your third year in the league. And outside of that, you're just vet minimum, or sorry, not vet minimum, minimum, rookie minimum. So what the pre-arb bonus system is going to look like is it is for players who are not yet eligible for arbitration, and then they may receive bonuses based on their performance. So because basically what would happen is if I am rookie phenom, what was our made up player's name? Winker Suarez. If I'm rookie phenom Winker Suarez, and I win MVP my rookie year with Bryce Harper, essentially. Yeah. I don't get money for that. I get no money for that. I get absolutely nothing for doing that because I am on rookie minimum. So what this is saying is if you do something as a pre-arb player, we will give you additional dollars. It breaks out as such: MVP or Cy Young, $2.5 million. Second place in either of those awards, $1.75 million. Third place for either of those awards, $1.5 million. Fourth or fifth place for either of those awards, $500,000. Winning rookie of the year is $750,000. Rookie of the year second place is $500,000. So those first four categories, the likelihood of a rookie winning MVP or Cy Young is usually pretty low. So or even finishing top five is usually pretty low. So the odds of that happening in the first place is relatively small, but someone will inherently get the other two positions. The way that it then shakes out is the rest of the bonus pool money will be divided amongst the top 100 performers in the service class based on a formula that has been yet to be determined, but will likely be based on a variation of WAR. And players may only receive one bonus award per season. So you can't, I guess if you win rookie of the year and MVP, you don't get to combine those two things, which whatever, different conversation. What are your thoughts?
This is weird because if you're winning MVP and rookie of the year, you probably should be getting a good chunk of change.
Well, I think it's really more interesting if you imagine finishing fifth in MVP and second in rookie of the year, which would only be $1 million, but they only pay you half of that. Because each one is $500,000. Like, just fucking, it's $1 million. You're a $1 billion team. Who gives a fuck? But whatever.
Honestly, it's just if you win rookie of the year, great. Here's $1 million. If you win MVP, chances are you're winning rookie of the year too. You're just not getting anything for having a historic season versus a very good season.
Right. Well, what do you think about the latter part of it? The 100 top performers in the class getting something.
I mean, I like it. I like that it is a rather large chunk of people going back to golf. I mean, they have something similar that they just implemented for the first time, where it was only top 10 in this arbitrary ranking. And everyone's just kind of like, all right, well, the top 10 fucking golfers in the world are going to be on that fucking list. Golfers in the world don't need a fucking payout to keep them afloat. So I'm glad it's top 100, which is, a much nicer inclusion of guys. But at the end of the day, it's like, all right, still the top chunk of those guys aren't the ones who need that bonus.
I have issues and reservations with this. One of which is that the MLB itself doesn't have a determination for WAR. They don't have their own WAR. They're going to use, from what we've heard prior to the CBA being signed, they were planning on using something like Fangraphs, and that's a horrible and unfair position to have to put Fangraphs in. There should be something, if they want to do that, they should develop something from within, which who knows if they'll actually do. And this is not a lot of money. This is a concession really from the idea of lowering the number of years of service time to be arbitration eligible. That's where this came from. And if you think about how much money would it have gotten tossed around in arbitration versus $50 million, it's a lot more money than $50 million. But as a positive, again, this is something new, and this number, one would hope, will only increase or lead to a change, start to slowly acclimate the idea of paying your younger guys more money. And that is progress, even if it's not as dramatic as we would have wanted. So it sucks, but if you consider the fact that chances are everyone who would be eligible for this money would have also been receiving league minimum at least, which just went up a pretty decent amount. And there's a chance for them to receive some additional monies. That is always a good thing. So not as much as I would have wanted, but again, that's negotiation. So I guess it is what it is. All right. So the next one, service time manipulation. So the top 2 players in Rookie of the Year voting must receive at least a full year of service time, regardless of when they were called up. Teams that promote a player to the opening day roster and keep him up for a full season will be eligible to receive up to 3 draft picks if the player finishes top 3 in Rookie of the Year voting or top 5 in MVP Cy Young voting before he is eligible for arbitration. And a player must be optioned to the minors. May be optioned to the minors no more than 5 times in one season. So there's a lot to digest with this one.
Yes. I don't think I quite digest it all.
So the basic premise here is MLB is saying to the owners or GMs, whoever, we will give you 3 more draft picks if you keep a guy up for the full season. If your players win Rookie of the Year, but the only way we're going to award them Rookie of the Year is if you keep them up for a full season. We're not going to give Rookie of the Year to a guy. So I guess in this instance, like Gary Sanchez's 2016 season, when he got called up in like August and almost won Rookie of the Year, I would assume that he would not have been eligible for voting that year because he was not called up for the full season. Now that different conversation around service time manipulation. It really could just be that the Yankees knew that they weren't going to the playoffs that year and called up guys. It happens. But I think the general idea is that you're not going to hold a guy down who is supposed to be very, very good and then have them be eligible for Rookie of the Year, an award that you now benefit from as a team because you get more draft picks, but you didn't have them play the whole season. So
I really just don't see this making too much of an impact. If that's truly just, hey, you can't win Rookie of the Year unless you play a full season. If you don't really play a significant chunk of the season to begin with, you're not winning Rookie of the Year. That's very, very, very difficult. Again, I think this is going to only affect generational type prospects who, by all means, are the only guys who can come in and play half a season and be able to make enough of an impact to win Rookie of the Year. It's an improvement. I don't think it's going to be a crazy difference.
Well, it really, it is tough to gauge how much of a difference this will be because it's tough to understand how much MLB teams value their young talent and value draft picks, because that's really what it's going to come down to. Because if I am the GM of the Cincinnati Reds, who cares? And I think draft picks are way more important than paying a kid league minimum versus paying him AAA minimum. Then I'm going to have that kid be up the full season instead of continuously optioning him up and down, or not having him start the season. Because again, has to be a full season in the majors. Well, then I might have him up the whole season so I could get those draft picks, if that's how my math shakes out, versus having him stay down until whenever his service clock jumps forward. Because that's the other part of it that's weird. Like when Gleyber Torres got called up by the Yankees. Now, I really don't remember how these service clock things work. I'd have to look it back up because I do not remember. But his year of service time went forward in like June. It was weird. And so the Yankees, who needed a second baseman / shortstop while they were waiting for him, held off on doing anything until his service clock moved forward a year, or reset in June to being a whole new year, to bring him up. Now, he didn't win Rookie of the Year that year, but in that instance, because they held him down in the minors until they could get an extra year of service time from him, he would not be eligible for the award, and the team would then not be eligible to receive additional draft compensation.
I remember the exact same thing playing out with Yohan Moncada, where it was, we all know Yohan Moncada is getting called up, but we have to wait until the clock moves in June, which isn't the draft in June. So that would just,
that would be why it is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And so it's that. And we see it with like seemingly at least one good prospect every season is if we wait till after June, then their clock doesn't really start. So we'll wait until after June, even though we really need an outfielder or second baseman or catcher or whatever. But then you're risking losing a draft pick. So it's pretty, I think you're right. I think this is pretty lukewarm. And again, we do not know how the front offices of any MLB team values anything. Not really. We really don't. So how valuable this is, to be seen. Now, if MLB makes other changes, like making draft picks tradable, well, all of a sudden this actually becomes really valuable, because now we're not just talking about having some extra picks in like the third round or something. We're talking about extra capital that can be moved for better players, for reduced salary to the players that you do have if you want to try to dump salary, a whole bunch of other stuff. But as of right now, we have no idea. So it's tough to really gauge how dramatic of an effect this would have, if it's dramatic at all. All right, competitive balance tax. The lowest threshold will increase from 210 million to 230 million. The highest threshold with increased penalties are set at 20 million intervals, and a new fourth tier will be at the highest level. The tax rates and penalties remain the same except for the new tier. So here are how the tiers will pay out. The first threshold, again, was $230 million. Your first time going over it, you have to pay a 20% tax. Second time going over it is 30. Third time going over it is 50. The second threshold is 250 million.
Consecutive, correct?
Yes, third consecutive years. Second threshold is 250 million. Your first time doing that, it's a 32% tax. After that, it's 42%. After that, 62%. Third tier is 270 million. So again, 20 million intervals. First time breaking it is 62.5%, then 75% the second year. Third year is 95%. And the newest fourth tier is 290 million. It is, and your first time doing it, it's an 80% tax. Second time is a 90% tax. Third time is a 110% tax. So there we have it. One more part. The first year threshold the lowest threshold will also increase slightly every year, remaining at $20 million increments. So the distance between the tiers will still stay the same. But the threshold will be 230 for the first tier in 2022, and then it'll be 233, 237, 241, 244. Not big increases, but I guess they'll keep up with a more normal rate of inflation than we currently have.
What is the current lowest tier versus the implemented new first tier? What's the difference?
$20 million. It was currently 210. It was going up to 230 this season.
Okay. Got it. Just looking at the 26-man payrolls currently for MLB, Dodgers are at 231. Next highest, Yankees are at 211. Padres are 3 at 184. I don't think. Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, it includes injured reserve for total payroll? No, because that wouldn't count against this number, right?
Yes.
It's just the 26
IR
man.
counts towards payroll, but teams like that because it means that they don't have to spend much money and player contracts are insured. So the teams actually aren't paying IR player contracts, but the money does count against their salary.
So it's really only hurting the Yankees and the Dodgers for IR. Look, it's 231, 225 for Dodgers and Yankees, and then the next highest is 184, then 183, 182. You know, there's a definite drop down tier wise. I know we'll see this come into effect. I don't think it's going to be a drastic change. If anything, hopefully it just increases player contracts moving down the road.
Right. So how the competitive balance tax proceeds are distributed has also changed. 50% of competitive balance tax penalties will go into player retirement accounts, and the other 50% will go to a new discretionary fund for revenue sharing payees based on a formula to include non-media local revenue, i.e. gate receipts, which fluctuate with winning. Which I don't know what that's a change from. So I don't know enough to really say anything about it. All right, so let's keep moving. Again, we're starting to reach a little bit more of the end here. There's a lot that changed, but whatever. International draft, which we talked about as being actually, did we talk about the idea of an international draft?
I don't think we have.
I don't remember if it was something we talked about because, you know, MLB tried to throw it in at the last second to torpedo another negotiation round. It's a bad idea. Well, we got too much other stuff to talk about. It's a bad idea. The current hard bonus limit system will remain in place for 2022. Players and owners may agree by July 25th to implement an international draft to begin in 2024. If the parties agree on the international draft, there will be no compensation paid by teams for signing free agents. If there is an international draft, there's some details we're not going to get into. If they don't agree by the 25th, then the qualifying offer, which was theoretically tied to this, will be reinstituted, and they'll renegotiate the international draft later. It's a bad idea. There's not a lot of details here. The details that are here don't even matter until something gets agreed upon. We have too much other stuff to talk about. Let's just ignore it. Unless you have a question.
I know we haven't talked about this. I would think that the draft is bad because it takes away so much freedom from international players and takes away a ton of incentives for teams to try to make a hospitable atmosphere for international players. And at this point, it's just going to be the Orioles and the Pirates getting top international free agents where they're going to waste away for however long. What are your just basic foundational thoughts on this?
Drafts are meant to suppress earnings. That is what they are there to do.
Got it.
And to a certain extent, there are arguments to be made for competitive fairness, which does not apply with international draft and really has been a reduced factor for all major league sports associations in the country. But the reason it'd be so detrimental for an international draft is a lot of these players come from very poor countries, and a lot of them come from not great financial situations in which getting a big signing bonus is the reason they've devoted so much of their life to playing baseball. It's not just I get to play for the A's and I get to play for the Astros. It is that I get the chance to get paid a $1 million signing bonus. Like, not even big by signing bonus money. And that will take care of my family for not forever, but like for a little while, because we don't have much. And it's a very privileged perspective to say, oh, we'll just fucking draft them like we do with every other league, because who cares when it's a different economic system entirely. And we've had foreign-born players come out and say this will decimate baseball in the DR, in Venezuela, in Curacao, like countries where the idea of playing baseball isn't like a fun thing that your dad takes you to on Saturdays. It's I'm not actively working a job right now because there is the potential earning so much more in baseball with the signing bonus, like right away to help my family, not getting stuck in a minor league team, making, player minimum for 6 years, then getting up into the majors where I can make rookie minimum for another 3 years, and then arbitration money after that, where I'm really not sending any money home for years, for like almost a decade. It's that I can have money that can help my family today and then start really working towards building an actual future financially.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no problem. That's why like it's tough to even talk about these, because I can't. It's not going to be popular with the Latin players. It really is not. Free agent compensation. I'm going to ignore some of that for now. It looks like they're doing a draft lottery. First six selections will be for the draft lottery. That's what NBA does, right?
Yeah, and hockey.
Yeah. All right. So then that seems pretty normal. Revenue sharing, teams will continue
I would say just on the draft lottery, I think it's both in hockey and basketball, it's viewed as a positive thing for
it is. I was just wondering if it was the first 6 picks or not, but I think it's
first like 8 in the NBA.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Regardless. Actually, I think I thought the NHL was only the top 3. Now I don't remember. Revenue sharing, teams will continue to put 48% of net local revenues into revenue sharing. Oakland A's are restored as a revenue sharing payee. Players' grievances against the A's, Rays, Pirates, and Marlins remains unsettled. I don't really care very much.
4 for the NBA.
4 for the NBA? Yeah. All right. There's a lot of other smaller points. It's not that I don't care, by the way, about that thing up there. It's just it's a bigger conversation that I don't have enough information in front of me right now that we don't have the time to really get into. Small stuff that is in there. Just going to bang through these real quick. Sponsor patches and helmet decals. Clubs will be allowed to make sponsorship agreements for patches on jersey sleeves and decals on helmets. Estimated value of $6 to $8 million per team per year. Salary arbitration agreements. Yeah, I know. It's tacky and shitty, but not unexpected. Salary arbitration agreements are now guaranteed 1-year contracts. There must be an agreement, no hearing. The players were previously, the arbitration agreements were previously not guaranteed. 500 million grievance from 2020 dismissed. Players filed a grievance for 500 million due to MLB scheduling only 60 games in 2020. That grievance is officially dismissed. Sports betting, a new policy is created for the players governing commercial arrangements with sport betting companies. Roster size, MLB will continue the 26-man roster limit, increasing to 28 in September with a limit of 13 pitchers on the roster and 14 in September. And the trade deadline, commissioner may set the major league trade deadline on a date between July 28th and August 3rd, which I feels pretty in line with normal. So I don't really know why that's a point. That's a lot. It's a whole bunch. Not too much in there with the hidden gems that I really care that much about. Yeah. All right. Any final notes on any of this stuff? All right. what was your CBA question? Now that we're kind of wrapped up with that part of it.
What do you think is going to be the largest topic of contention in the next negotiation? What is going to be the driving factor?
Oh man, that's a great question. Well, so one of the things that was rumored last week during the talks is that because Apple TV came out and announced that they have a partnership with MLB and that Friday Night Baseball will now be displayed on Apple TV. And apparently MLB did not want that getting out because it was in the middle of CBA negotiations and they didn't want players to have another reason to be like, we want more money. But Apple said, fuck you, we have an Apple event. Like, we're not holding it back, eat my dick. And they did it. And apparently, from what we have heard rumblings of on the internet, there are more of those coming down the pipe. If that's the case, I would imagine that there might end up being more of a focus on, again, I don't know too much about on the side of non-local media deal revenue sharing, but I'd imagine that there has to eventually be more of an investigation on the player side of things of some of these financials, because it seems like baseball keeps making money hand over fist and their money is not making its way down. So that I'd also imagine arbitration for the younger players is going to come up again. It came up this time. The players wanted second-year guys to be eligible, and they were only able to get that bonus pool money we talked about. So I'd imagine that'll become a much bigger sticking point. And maybe salary floor, I'd say. The idea of a salary floor. What about you? Who do you think?
I'm not smart enough to have a preference based off of my own innate knowledge. Based off of all of the discussions we've had, yeah, I think I'd rather have a salary floor because I think the Pirates and the Orioles having $20 million payrolls is much worse for the sport than the Yankees potentially having a $250 million payroll. I would be more worried about guys making X amount of money rather than, preventing guys from making X amount of money. Because, roster numbers aren't going to change. I'd rather have guys have a minimum salary than potentially a maximum salary based off of market rates. So, yeah, I think I went with you on that.
And we'll see. What would be great is if in the next 5 years the minor leagues also unionized and maybe had a seat at the table. That would also be great. But
yeah, excellent. I very much would think that the owners would never allow such a thing to happen. But hey, if that's something we could talk about and be a part of it, look, if we could get them fucking negotiating for themselves as a part of the BA and have them have a united voice, I think that would go a long way. And I think if that was the hill they were willing to die on to make sure it's in the next CBA, I think it would do nothing but help.
So there's also been some signings and some trades. I say with our current runtime, maybe we save that for next episode. And hey, it gives us a little bit more time to get some more breaking deals. We heard that there was going to be a flurry of deals, and while things have certainly happened, not a lot of big, like 1.5 big things have happened.
One very big thing and one pretty big thing that will inevitably lead to other very big things happening. Yeah.
So we'll save it for I guess the Thursday show. So last thing before we go, we're not going to talk any football outside of this just because it was pressing and fucking annoying.
It's
Tom Brady
fucking bullshit
unretires.
is what it is.
Tom Brady is back. He was gone for only a mere moment and realized I fucking hate my kids. I hate my wife. He realized he's been a bad parent the whole time and he's not fixing it.
Yeah, he was like, shit, I did a number on these guys with the open mouth kissing and just, not being here.
I could just follow me around slobbering in my mouth.
Yeah. I'd rather slap guys on the ass and shove my hands in Ryan Jensen's ass,
Yeah, he decided he wasn't going to reach where he wanted to be in terms of his pliability by being at home. Not pliable enough at home. True pliability comes from the locker room.
Oh, I don't like the way you say that, but
yeah. And it's weird. It's very weird because 2 months ago, if you said Tom Brady was playing next year, I'd be like, fucking, of course he is. He just had a monster season.
He just was one of the two guys who could have possibly won MVP this year.
Yeah. So no shit, he's coming back again. And when a guy of his reputation and status retires, it really has a feeling of finality to it. I know that there's the Brett Favres in the world who waffled back and forth, but I think for the most part, it really hasn't happened where guys have dipped out and dipped back in, especially that have accomplished as much as he has accomplished. And granted, no one's accomplished as much as he's accomplished. He has more Super Bowl rings than any one team does. But usually it feels like anyway, if you are going to make that decision with all that you've accomplished, with all the income you've made, with all the years that you've played, if you are going to come to that conclusion, I can't imagine you're doing it without anything other than complete certainty. And so it is just a little bit weird that he is backing out of it. Not unjustified, but just kind of weird.
Do you think Adam Schefter's leak of his retirement kind of put the pressure on him to where he was still kind of going through that decision process and was just kind of like, fuck, all right. Yeah, you know what? That does sound pretty good. Let's retire and just enjoy life. And then was actually like, wait, no, what the fuck am I doing? That's not the decision I wanted to make.
I don't think so. And I don't know anything. We, as little as we know about the inner workings of how much MLB teams care about their draft picks, I know even less about what goes into the mind of Tom Brady on a day-to-day basis. But if I had to guess, and really, again, based on absolutely nothing, it was very easy for him in a certain way to say, yeah, I'm going to retire. And then it was very hard for him to have to mentally adjust to the idea that I am about to retire. I'm sure that his routine started changing, or at least his routine was allowed to change. And maybe that did not settle well with him. Some guys retire and very much so look forward to the lifestyle change. Joe Thomas, when he retired from the Browns, lost a ton of weight because he hated being so heavy to play left tackle and really wanted to be trimmer, and he lost a bunch of weight. CC Sabathia hated having a bunch of weight too because it felt like it made him a good pitcher, and he wanted to lose a bunch of weight, and he did that. And some players go the other way around. Some players gain a bunch of weight because they hated working out constantly and having to be in shape.
Fucking fat.
It's never going to happen.
Start eating strawberries. He's going to eat some McDonald's for the first time, and
that'll happen when his hairline recedes, which will be never.
No, because he's rich and he can afford to never have his hairline recede.
Yeah, I know. And so I can't help but think that maybe Giselle was like, Tom, you can have donuts now. What do you got to work out for? You earned it. Kick back, buddy. And he was like, I don't know how to process this. All I know is football and kissing kids on the mouth. I don't know how to process this.
He finally got a honey-do list because he doesn't have the excuse of, I need to prepare for the season. And he's like, I am not fucking ready to start mowing my own goddamn lawn.
He finally realized how much more money his wife makes than him and is like, oh, fuck. Oh, God damn it. I got to go bump up those career earnings.
I wish the Bucks had signed someone before he announced coming back, so he had to go to a new team. Not the Steelers, because they were in the market for a quarterback, but just go to some random fucking nowhere team.
The Colts.
And just no, because they would be unstoppable.
I know. I want to see it go to the Colts.
Why do you want to see Tom Brady be on an unstoppable team again?
I kind of just want to see the Colts just be ridiculous. Even if it meant Tom Brady, but
God, they
whatever.
would be so stupid fucking good. It would
Oh,
be
you know, it'd be hilarious.
Real.
The Vikings.
Kirk
That would have
Cousins
been
and
fucking
Tom
funny.
Brady both making a stupid amount of money.
They can afford one wide receiver. The other one has to line up.
You're literally forced to allow Justin Jefferson, just a historically good young wide receiver, to walk because you can't re-sign him. You just have to have a bunch of rookie offensive playmakers. You can never re-sign anyone.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
That would be really great.
I do hate, though, that like when he unretired, he said he had unfinished business. My friend, you have finished every business there is to finish. Like, I wish a player would unretire or like say something instead of saying I have unfinished business, really be honest and be like, I couldn't emotionally handle leaving the sport. Like, be honest. Don't say you have unfinished business. Like this is a fucking 80s action movie and you have to go kill the guy that kidnapped your daughter. Like, be real, be a human being.
You are the only person in the history of sports who can truly say, I am completely finished with all I could possibly accomplish.
I have done
There's
business.
nothing left for me to achieve. Yeah, business is done. The NFL should retire rather than me.
I am
They should be
Mr.
the ones to
Business.
stop playing.
The cat from Bob's Burgers.
They should be given, the NFL should have to cease operations and start a new league with a new name because it's Tom Brady's league now.
It is also funny though, because it's like, I also don't have that much to fucking say about it. Like we said a bunch about when he retired because his stat line was like officially complete, which was now premature. But it's not like there's nothing to say about it until the Bucks do stuff. Because it's not like he is retiring or unretiring to like a different team. It's not like he's going from the Bucks to the Niners. And there's a whole new conversation we have about how this affects the Niners. Because there's not. Like, it's like, hey, you remember the Bucks from last year? They're the same. Their staff, it's the same.
One player so far, and had four guys re-signed since then.
Because I was gonna say, like, they have a bunch of free agents, but like now they're all gonna sign back.
Yeah, like they literally had like 5 guys who were all like in like serious negotiations with teams, at least according to Twitter, and then only one of them signed a contract since the start of free agency with another team. Yeah.
So it's like I'm now out of things to say outside of fuck you. Fuck you.
Go fuck yourself, Tom Brady.
This does open up the possibility, though, of what I said I really wanted to get when we talk about his retirement, which is him leaving on a low note. I am still absolutely rooting for the low note.
Just we could finally see what the cliff actually is.
Yeah. I want the final pass to be the pick 6 in like week 9. And the Bucks are like, Tom, we can't keep playing you. We're so sorry. Mitchell Trubisky is here now.
And a completely selfish reasoning. Big Ben will now be the only quarterback at his Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And I'm so happy that that's the case because it's not just, oh, Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger. It's Ben Roethlisberger's going to the Hall of Fame.
How would you feel if Brady retired again before the start of the season?
I'd love it because that would be hilarious, but I'm just now picturing like Aaron Rodgers saying, fuck it, I'm retiring and also being eligible, you know.
That'd be funny. That wouldn't happen. He just signed a gigantic contract and he's not turning down that money. Yeah, no. He has COVID. It is
ridiculous how he has just truly, like, there's no arguing against the fact that he truly just is demanding headlines have his name consistently. Like, he has not allowed a week to go by without his name being forced atop the headlines of everything.
I know. It's annoying. Fuck him. All right. Hey, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Go Mitch.
Fuck Mitch.
I love kissing titties. Truly the greatest tweet in the history of the NFL.
And it's a great tweet for great people. We all love kissing titties. The name of our other podcast where we talk about porn parodies. Anyway, well, if you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at JuicingPod. If you'd like to follow Corwin on Twitter, you can do so at Corwin Heller. If you'd like to follow myself on Twitter, you can do so at Joshua D. Tracy. If you'd like to send emails to the show, you can do so at juicingthenumbers@gmail.com. And until Thursday, y'all have a good one.
Bye.